Where did I get these warm-up questions from? The star. All right, number 1, what's it asking for?
Slope of the line.
Slope of the line. And what do you have? 2 points. So label them, x1, y1. What are you going to do if you want to find the slope? Look at your...
y2 minus y1.
Where is that? Where is that?
Formula chart.
Formula chart. Okay, we've been sloping for a long time now. But again, after really the first semester, we're not going to be sloping that much anymore. So when you see this word in April and you're like, wow, I haven't seen that since November, then I want you to know where to go to find the formula, plug it in. What'd y'all get for your slope? -2. Okay, those are the type of questions on the star that we want to see. Because again, it's a formula that we know super well. Not very crazy. We just throw it in our calculator, simplify it down. The next one. A line contains the point -2, 2, and 4, 2. What's the question asking? Slope of a line. And you have 2 points. Do you need this graph? Do you have to use this graph? No. Because you can label your points, x1, y1, x2, y2. And you can use the formula again. You can. I'll show it graphing. But what do you get if you use the formula for your slope? What's the answer to this one?
2/3.
2/3. Okay? If you use the formula. If you do plot them, which this was on last year's star, so I don't know. I wonder if they put a graph on there, if like you can go graph it on your computer. I'd have to kind of look at that. But you could plot those points. How do we get to -2, -2? What do we do? Jahan? How do we plot that point? Correct. What is our x? Okay, so I go to -2 on the x, and then I go down 2. There's my point. And then the other point that I have is 4, 2. How do I get there?
4, 2.
Go to 4 on the x and 2 on the y. And then you could do your change in y over change in x. You could draw a line, again, or you can use that slope formula. What happens if you do change in y over change in x, though? I do want to look at this. Anybody do it this way? Who did the formula? Raise your hand. I know y'all did. Who did the formula? Who did the graph? Anybody do the graph?
I did both.
You did both. Okay, so if you did the graph and then you use the formula, that's fine.
I had to graph it, so.
No, it's fine. Did your graph look like this? Yeah? Okay, I want to talk about the graph because I do think if you use the graph, again, you have to be able to plot your points correctly. So this would be one that I would maybe check it 2 ways. But remember, slope is my rate of change. It's my vertical, change in y, my horizontal, change in x. But I do want to count this real quick from these points. What is my change in y? How high am I going to get to this point right here? I went up 1, 2, 3, 4. My change in y was 4. Put that ruler down. What's my change in x? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is 4 over 6 an answer choice? You gotta simplify. So even if you use, remember, slope doesn't matter what points you use, but it should always simplify to be that same rate of change, that same slope. And then if you did graph, could you easily eliminate 2 of your answer choices? Which 2? Which way is this graph going? You can eliminate the negative. So it probably would be worth it to put those points on a graph just to get an idea. But then again, you can always confirm from the formula. You can always simplify from alpha y equals. Throw that in alpha y equals. It simplifies it all the way down for you. Boom, there's your answer. Okay? So we're going to continue kind of what we were doing last class. We are going to be calculating slope still. Again, we have been sloping for like 6 weeks now. But before we move on to today's notes, this is the form that we talked about last time. We've seen it. We've seen point slope form. What are the 2 things that you need to write in point slope form? It's in the name. You need what do you need? A point and a slope. Doesn't matter what point you have. No, any point, any x and y value. So I want you to go through. Remember what you can recall from point slope. You can flip forward or flip backwards in your notes. Fill out this little chart right here, and then we'll move on to what we are doing today. Okay, this is page 5. Y'all want to start telling me what you got on some of these? Here's our point slope formula. Remember, we need a point and a slope. X and Y are on opposite sides. X has something in parentheses, so it's a little bit different. It's not slope-intercept form, but we want to recognize it there. What does the M stand for?
Slope.
The slope. So can you see, like if you're given point slope form, by looking at it, can you be like, that's my slope?
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever number is right there outside the parentheses, that number is your slope. Okay? So you can see it there. What do you do if you are not given the slope? Some of the problems say, here's your slope. Some of the problems don't say that. So what do?
You gotta find it.
Gotta find it. How we find it?
Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1.
Where is that formula? On the chart. Okay?
It's called slope of a line.
Slope of a line. All right, what do the X1 and Y1 stand for in the formula?
Oh, ordered pairs.
An ordered pair, okay? A point. Hey, any point. I put that down. I put any point on the line. A point on the line. Yes, but it doesn't, there's like, in slope-intercept form, it has to specifically be a y-intercept. In point slope form, it's any old point. And if you've got multiple points, you get to choose. Remember, it's an x1 and then a y1, okay? So any point on the line. And then this one was kind of weird. X and y in the formula, those stay as our variables, like the plane x and the plane y. I put on the note here, don't plug in a number for those. Like you've got to keep those variables in place. So the only thing you plug in for are the x1, y1, and m. Other words for slope.
Rate of change.
Rate of change. Okay, that's the only one I put on mine, but if you had like a word problem, you know, you've got like per and each and whatever. What about y-intercept? Initial value, starting point, things like that. All right, and then some of you guys had the ones for x-intercept. What are y'all?
0.
0. Anybody get the other ones? Root. Solution. Very good. Team effort. Okay, so if you didn't write all those down, here you go. It's just vocab. But understanding where your vocab is, that's all important. Being able to recall all this. The bottom little section we haven't done in a while, so if you didn't know how to fill all those out, fill them out now. Ethan, you got all these? Okay. Okay, real quick, before we jump into the notes, I did this yesterday on B-Day, and I thought it was good. So go to the front of your packet real quick, because there's some space. Front of the packet, we're going to go a little rogue here. But here's what we're going to do. Here's the question. What do you know from ... Okay, I'm going to give you a few equations. And I want you to think for a minute on your own and think about what we know about these couple equations. Okay, we're going to do 4. Y minus 7 equals 2/3 x plus 1. Y plus 5 equals negative 3 x minus 2. Y equals 3/4 x minus 9. And last one, 4x minus 5y equals negative 40. Okay, write those down. And then I want you to think about what you can tell me from each of those equations. No solving. No solving. It's just, what do you know? So I would start with, what form is it in? First of all.
Slope. No, it's not.
I don't know. Think in your head. Think in your head. Write on your paper. Think about what form it's in. And then think about the name of that form, because the name kind of reminds you what you can see in the equation. We're not solving anything. No solving here. This is just like notes, attributes, vocab words. I know this. I know this. Okay? But knowing what form it's in is definitely going to be a good starting point. So think for a few seconds and then we'll discuss, because this is kind of, we normally go forwards You have to create the equation, but if we can go forwards and we really understand it, we should be able to go backwards and pick stuff out of the equation as well. Talk about the first one in case you're stumped and not sure what to do. Number 1, because 1 and 2 are kind of similar. What form is number 1 in? Point slope form. Very good. How do we know it's in point slope form? Because it has a parentheses. It's just in that form. This is our point slope form. So again, I want you to think about the name. What can you see when it is in point slope form?
The numbers.
There are parentheses. What?
What form is it?
Slope.
So what can you see?
The point.
A point and the
Slope.
slope. Okay? What's your slope? That one's quicker.
2/3.
How'd you know?
It's next to it.
Because it's right there. It's where the M is in the formula. So you can tell me, hey, I know what the slope is. Okay? Finding the point is a little bit trickier. It's not crazy, but it's a little bit trickier. Anybody know what the point is?
It's -7.
Johan, what's the Y value? How'd you know? Because it's negative in the equation and it's by the Y. So that means it's the Y value. Remember in point slope form, we have to change the signs because of the minus. So she knew that the Y value was going to be +7 because this is her Y1. So then what do you think the X1 is going to be? -1. That's the point. So you need to be able to take a point, plug it in. It's also good to know how to be given an equation, pull the point out. Okay? So try number 2. Try number 2. If you didn't get that on number 2, this is what I'm looking for. This type of information right here. And then we'll talk about 3 and 4 in just a second. All right, number 2, what form is it in? Point slope form. So what do we know? 2 things. A point and a slope. Slope's quicker. What's the slope here? -3. What's the point here? Flipped. 2, -5. So what helps me remember which one is the X and the Y is it's right by that variable. And it's kind of weird because the Y1 is the first number that you see. But remember, the Y value is the second number in an ordered pair. So it's just a little bit kind of a flip-flop. But again, I like to label. I like to label these things here, and then it kind of helps me. All right, what form is number 3 in? How do you know that's in slope intercept? Because Y equals, okay? And this is normally where we want to get. And this is what we're going to review today. How do we get back to this? What do you know in slope intercept form? A slope and a which intercept? Your y-intercept. Okay, that's important to know which one. So you can't go to slope-intercept form unless you have those two exact things. That's why point slope is useful because it's kind of the middleman. And it helps us get to slope-intercept. So what's the slope here? 3/4. What's the y-intercept? -9. Very good. That's old. Okay, this is really old. What form is this in? Standard. Is there anything that you can just look at without doing any math? Is there anything that you can just look at and see in standard form? Any attribute? Do y'all know what I mean when I say attribute?
No.
These are attributes. Slope,
I don't want to see it.
intercept, points. Those are all attributes.
What's an attribute?
I just said a slope, an intercept, a point, characteristics, like those vocab words that we've been talking about. Okay, look at, how do you know this is in standard form? How did you all know?
X and Y.
X and Y are on the same side. Is there anything special about capital A, capital B, capital C?
No.
No. So there's really nothing that we can, like I said, look at and just grab a number. Now, is there stuff we can solve for?
Yes.
Yeah, there's stuff we can solve for. Could y'all convert that to slope intercept form? Yes, we can. Throwback. Anybody remember what else we use this form quite a bit for to find?
X.
X what? No. X what?
X2.
No.
X-intercept.
X intercepts
I
and
knew it.
and y intercepts. How do we do that? How do we do it? How do we do it? You what? No, that's to convert it.
Yep.
How do you find intercepts? Plug in a
Oh, no.
A 0. Plug in a 0, solve for y. Plug in a 0, solve for x. That's kind of the only thing that I think standard form is really that useful for. Okay? All right, so that was just, I think this was good for you to understand what the forms look like, what they tell you. We're going to jump into today's lesson. Today's lesson is all about writing in slope-intercept form. It's going to be an extension of what we did last class. It's stuff you already know, okay? Nothing really new. It's just kind of putting puzzle pieces together. We have some homework in the packet. I think it's just 4 questions today. So hopefully we can get it all done before we leave and have no homework. What's happening next class? No, not a test. It's a CFU, okay? So we're going to kind of see where we are, and based on how you do on that, you might have some extra work to do for me, okay? It's this day. It's before Thanksgiving. In a minute.
Wait,
Okay.
next week, in 2 weeks is Thanksgiving, correct?
No. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, bad.
It's not too bad. Not too bad.
It's
Okay,
on
good.
the 23rd.
But I can't go back.
Yeah, it is kind of early. Not right now. We're about to start the lesson. Wait, after next break. Yes. Okay. All right. Back to your notes. Back to your notes. Number 6. Page 6. Page 6. Go to page 6. Again, I don't think this is going to take forever because it's extension. Page 6. Page 6. Page 6. So today is all about writing equations of lines. Last time we did this and we got to point slope form and we said we're done. Today we're actually going to take it from point slope form to what? To what? Slope intercept form. And guess what? You already know how to convert that. So there's nothing really new here. We're just merging stuff together. Okay? You with me? Page 6. So we put your steps for how to do the conversion. Some of you guys, when I put those problems on the board, you already started writing that down. You do distribute that slope into the parentheses, and then you get y by itself. Okay, so again, not anything new today. Just putting puzzle pieces together. So number 1, write an equation of a line in what form? Slope-intercept form. So remember I had y'all box the form we were writing in. Box the form we're writing in. Because on your CFU, you're going to have to do both. Or you might have to do one. And you got to pay attention to which one you're doing. Box, slope-intercept form. Now let's think about what we're given. We're given a slope of 4, passes through the point -3, 5. Are we able to go straight to slope-intercept form if we have a slope and a point -3, +5? Are we able to go to slope-intercept form? No. Do we know the y-intercept? No. Okay, so we have to do a pit stop in point slope. Okay, that's the big deal about today. So slope is what letter? M. The rando point that they gave you was -3, +5. That's going to be our x1, y1. So I have to start in point slope form because that's what I have. Random point and a slope. So this is what we did last class. Y'all with me? All right, how do we write it? What is our point slope form? Is that up at the top anywhere?
Isn't it 1 minus or something?
It is. Let's put that up here. I don't know why that's not up here. Point slope. It's on the chart too. It's y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. So how do we write number 1 in point slope form?
1 minus 5
Y minus 5
equals
4
and then
parentheses.
x plus 3.
Why is it +3? Minus a negative. We have to change minus negatives to pluses. If you do 2 steps for that, it's totally fine. But we got to make sure we get it there. Okay, do we understand why we had to go to this form first? Yes? Yes? Because we only had a random point and a slope. Now we need to convert it. This is what y'all did on your last test. Step 1 to convert is to use the distributive property. So what are you going to distribute? The 4. So we're going to keep y minus 5 the same. 4 times x is 4 times +3 is +12. That's step 1. And then what?
Solve for y.
Solve for y. How do you solve for y when it's y minus 5? You add 5. Can you add 5 to a 4x? Can you add 5 to a 12?
Yes.
y equals
4x
4x
plus 17.
plus 17. Now here's my favorite part about getting all the way to slope-intercept form, and I want to show you this. This is a test-taking strategy. When you're in slope-intercept form, can you put that in your calculator?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Go to y equals,
Alpha y equals.
not alpha y equals, just regular y equals. Everyone do this. I want you to see this. This is really cool. This is really cool. So I can put y equals 4x plus 17. I can put my slope-intercept form. You cannot do this if you stop in point slope. So that's why we didn't do this at all last time.
How do you put an X?
It's next to the green button.
4.
Huh? I'm colorblind. Which one's green?
Look at the alpha.
The alpha button. Sorry.
And alpha.
Oh, okay.
Just look for the X.
Okay.
I don't know what to do.
Wait,
How do you what? Yeah, guys, we've used this calculator before. We need to know how to do this. 4x plus 17. Okay. Remember, two things that we needed our line to do. What did we need the slope of our line to be? 4. Is the slope of our line 4? Yes. What else did we need our point or our line to do? Go through the point what? Negative 3, 5. Well, let's go look at the table and make sure that point's there. How do we get to the table? Second graph. So you're going to go to your table and you're going to look when x is negative 3 and make sure that that y value is positive 5. Is it?
Yes.
Did we do the problem right?
Yes.
Yay us. Try number 2.
See if you can do number 2.
See if you can do number 2. Very good. Did you check in your calculator? Okay. So this one, again, you guys got to be really careful. And here's the big idea from today. You're going to be given problems where you have to start in point slope form because that is always the starting ground unless you know the y-intercept. And guess what? You're probably not going to know the y-intercept. If y'all don't get the point slope form right, your slope-intercept form is probably not going to be right. Okay? So we got to be super careful with that. And then it's also really important to check for the point in your calculator because, again, if you don't see it, you'll know you made a mistake. You can go back. Okay? All right, let's look at 3 and 4 real quick. I'll do 3. Actually, I'll do 4 with you because there's a lot of negatives, and then I'll have you guys go do 3. Put a star by 4. Okay? What's our goal? Write an equation of a line in. What's our final answer going to be in? But where do we have to start? We have to start in point slope, okay? All we're given is 2 points, negative 4, negative 5, negative 8, negative 12. Are either of those points a y-intercept? That is why we have to start in point slope form. Do we know our slope right now? No. We have to what? We have 2 points that can get it. So this is like mega problem. We got 3 things we got to do. We got to find the slope, we got to put it in point slope, and we got to convert it. All right, so let's start with step number 1. Step number 1, find the slope. x1, y1, x2, y2. We did a warm-up on this. Slope formula, right before you type. Miles, put that calculator down. We're going to write what we're typing first. I'm going to go over here so I have more room. Y2, what is our Y2? Negative 12 minus Y1, what is our Y1? Negative 5. What's the bottom? Negative 8 minus negative 4. Write this down before you type it, please. Some of y'all are making mistakes, and these are mistakes we shouldn't be making because y'all are good at slope. But I feel like a lot of the time it's because we're trying to take shortcuts. No shortcuts here. No shortcuts in math. Okay? So our slope is 7 over 4. Is that what you got? Okay? All right. We have 2 points. Does it matter which point we use to go in point slope form?
No.
All right, Heidi, you pick a point. Which one do you want to use? Negative 4, negative 5, or negative 8, negative 12?
Negative 4, negative 5.
All right, so she wants to use this one. She wants to use this point, and here's our slope. This point is not a y-intercept. We have to go into the middleman, which is point slope form, number 2. You're going to basically have to do this pretty much every single problem in this unit, is this flow. So we've got y. The y value of the point that Heidi chose is -5. So what are we going to put in the formula?
Positive.
+5. Equals our m that we had to calculate. We better calculate it right. 7/4. Parentheses, x. The x value that went with the point that we chose. +4. Okay, this has to be right, or else this other guy is not going to be right. This is old. This is what we did last class. Now we got to convert it. Only thing new today. Draw your line. How do you convert it?
Distribute.
Yep. All right, let's multiply 7/4 times 4. I think we set most of these up to where you would get like pretty y-intercepts, but is it possible to not get a pretty number over here? Yes. Okay, and I've seen a lot of STAR questions that do that, so. All right, step 2.
Yeah, cross off the, get the water outside.
How?
Just -5.
-5, and put the -5 under the,
7.
very good. Y equals 7/4 x
Plus, let's see.
plus 2. Can you check this? Now, this problem, you're looking for how many points? Whoa, 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 whoa. How many points are you looking for? 2. You're looking for -4, -5. Check, check. You're looking for -8, -12. Check, check. Okay? Try number 3. On your own. Was kind of weird that our slope ended up being 1, but 1's a number. Do you have to put 1? Do you see how I wrote it 2 different ways? Do you have to put 1 in front of the x? No, you don't have to. Okay? I wouldn't count 1x plus 1 wrong. If this was multiple choice, I bet they would just put x plus 1. They probably wouldn't put the 1 in front of there, but we're okay. Okay? So this is the flow. You've got to find the slope. Sometimes they give you it. You got to go to point slope. You got to go to slope intercept. So flip over real quick. I want you to do problem 1. But before you do that, I want to together talk about problem 3. And I would star this. Star problem 3. So here's the thing on problem 3. When I was flipping through EOC STAR questions, a lot of the ones I saw were kind of written like number 3, okay? It's a problem we've seen. It just looks a little bit different right now. So what form are we trying to write in? Slope intercept form, okay? But here's what we know. A line has an initial value of 4. Is that an ordered pair? Is that written as an ordered pair? No. But we got to know how to write that as an ordered pair. An initial value of 4 and a root of -2. Again, another point not written as an ordered pair. So this is why we reviewed that vocab. What is an initial value? The same thing as.
Y. Slope.
That's your, okay, don't just throw out words. What is the initial value another name for? The y-intercept. So you have to recognize that this is a y-intercept. How do you write 4 as a y-intercept as an ordered pair?
0.
Very good. So here's one of our points. The other point is the root. So it's, what kind of point is a root? X-intercept. And how do you write it, Nick? -2, 0. Okay? So sometimes and now it looks like a problem that we just did. Okay? You got your 2 points, slope it up, point slope form, slope intercept, and then we're also going to graph here. But you've got to know that vocab to know how to interpret those and know how to write these as two ordered pairs. So I think this one was kind of tricky. Okay, so I'll do 3 with you, then I want you to do number 1, and then I will let you skip number 2 and go to your homework. How about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so slope formula this. We're also graphing this too, so let's make sure we know how to graph these. We skipped to number 3 on the back. And you are going to have to graph on your practice as well. Does it matter which point you use for your point slope form? No. No, it's up to you. I just circled the one right above it. These out. I worked out, I know I told you I could skip too. I did work it out on my Canvas key. You do end up having a fractional y-intercept on number 2. That's okay. That can happen. They're numbers.
How are you supposed to graph that?
Graphing wise, I would use the 2 points that they gave you because they are pretty points to actually graph this here, because we don't like to graph if it doesn't have a whole number y-intercept. But remember, once you have this form too, you could also go to the table. You could also put that in y equals and go to the table and get some more points from there. So we're kind of at the point now where you've got a couple routes you can take as far as getting your graph, but we want to try to do those whole number points. Okay? So when you finish this practice packet, it's just the 5.2 questions. There are only 4. You've got graphs to do with them. When you finish those, I want you to come check the key, and then I will check off that you've completed those 4 problems. And that is your homework for today.